Hello, and welcome to the Infrared Training Center's webinar series. Today's topic, Thermographer Management. Managing and developing your thermographers. My name is John Wagner. I am a senior instructor for the Infrared Training Center. I've spent the last 35 years working in the electrical and mechanical fields, performing installation, testing, maintenance, and troubleshooting of electrical and mechanical equipment. 32 of my 35 years of performing infrared thermography, I've used cameras like you see in front of you. These cameras are all made by FLIR and represent 40 years approximately of camera manufacturing. As I previously said, I'm an instructor for the Infrared Training Center. But before I became an instructor, I spent many years performing thermography on electrical and mechanical equipment. I've also had the privilege of managing groups of thermographers doing electrical, mechanical, and rooftop thermography. Now that we're through introductions, we want to ask all that are listening, why this topic? Thermographer management, thermographer development. Is it really important? We believe it is, and let us give you some reasons why. So here's our first reason why we think this topic is important. Infrared thermography is recognized more and more in its ability to identify heat issues in multiple applications. We've already mentioned electrical and mechanical, but studying building envelopes, search and rescue, public safety, research and development, moisture detection, and there are many more where infrared thermography is applied today. Secondly, many standard organizations such as NFPA, National Fire Protection Association, NETA, National Electrical Testing Association, ASTM, American Society of Testing and Materials, IEEE, Institute of Electronic and Electrical Engineers, as well as insurance companies have increased their emphasis on the use and application of infrared thermography. Thirdly, infrared cameras are more affordable than ever before. More cameras are in the hands of more people than any time in the history of manufacturing infrared cameras. This leads us to our fourth point. There's a great need for qualified thermographers because of what we've just mentioned. Now we want to emphasize the word qualified, and that's really where we want to spend some time now in this webinar. What does it mean to be a qualified thermographer? So to understand why it's necessary to manage and develop our thermographers, as well as to understand the word qualified, we want to look to the organization that oversees infrared thermography in North America, but also has influence globally, and that is ASNT, the American Society of Non-Destructive Testing. ASNT covers several non-destructive testing technologies, one of them being infrared thermography. Let's take this one step further. Not only does the American Society of Non-Destructive Testing, ASNT, give us guidance to the management and development, but they have several standards that we want to point you to if you want to examine and read more about this. We have them at the bottom of this screen. On the far left, SNT TC1A, latest edition is 2020, and then you'll notice in the middle CP105, and then finally on the right there's CP189. Now these standards were developed to talk about how we manage and develop our thermographers. Now, mind you, AS&T doesn't use manage and develop, but talk about certification, they talk about qualifications. And that's what we want to address for a few minutes here in this webinar. So there are 4 things that AS&T recommends, really requires, for the qualification of an infrared thermographer. 4 things: training, experience, knowledge, and finally, skill. Now, 4 things that make up the qualification of an infrared thermographer. But we only have time really here to introduce you to 2 of them, training and experience. So let's first look at training. And the very first thing that we want to address is get your thermographers certified. Levels 1, 2, or 3. Now, some disciplines have a level 4, but in thermography, there's level 1, level 2, or level 3 certification. But we want to emphasize, one of the things that AS&T emphasizes is getting your thermographers certified. As a matter of fact, AS&T goes on to use the word shall be certified. Shall being that very strong language that makes it, in their eyes, mandatory. So according to AS&T, certification is a requirement of being qualified. As a result of this, many industries, for instance, the electric utility industry or say the insurance industry, require certification credentials in their standards or requests for thermographer work. AS&T also describes what certification training should look like or what it necessitates. First off, what prerequisites are required to go to level 1, level 2, level 3. Now, we're not going to get into all of those prerequisites. Obviously, at level 1, there's a very minimum requirement or prerequisite to attend training. But as you go to level 2 and level 3, there are certain prerequisites that need to be met. AS&T also has hours of training requirements for certification. Another part of certification training in thermography is practical training, hands-on time with the infrared camera, but also time to learn how to interpret images taken by the camera. Finally, AS&T documents how certification students are to be tested and what the test scores should be to achieve a passing grade. So AS&T not only tells us that our thermographers should or shall be certified, but they also describe what that certification training looks like. Now, let's talk about some other training. Get your thermographer certified in other supporting disciplines. There is ultrasonic certification, both contact ultrasonic and airborne ultrasonic. This type of testing supports both electrical and mechanical thermography. After ultrasound, there's vibration certification. Vibration certification is useful in mechanical thermography. A growing field is drone operation. And drone operation certification is really a requirement if you plan to fly drones in public airspace. It supports many different thermography applications: electrical, building envelope study, public safety, search and rescue, just to name a few. Next, you can look at building inspection certification if you have thermographers that are performing building envelope thermography. Finally, there's safety certification. Now this is very broad, based upon the safety hazards your thermographers are exposed to. So it could be electrical safety training, it could be chemical, it could be enclosed spaces, it could be working at height, or whatever it may be. You want to make sure that your thermographers have proper safety training and certification. Now this concludes a brief list of other training that your thermographers can pursue to help support them in their thermography work. Now let's look at another type of training that we believe you should be pursuing for your thermographers, and that's recertification. Get your thermographers recertified. So thermography certification is not for life, whether it's a level 1, level 2, or level 3. You need to get your thermographers recertified. Like certification, according to ASNT, recertification is required for those who plan to continue to perform thermography past their initial certification expiration date. The reason behind this is ASNT, like many other technical disciplines, wants to see their certified thermographers developing and getting continuing education. And one of the ways that that can be accomplished is by getting recertified. So our recommendation here is start a calendar. Call it a certification or recertification calendar, or certification recertification calendar. A method of keeping track of those that are certified and when they need to get recertified. Not only for their thermographer certification, but for the other disciplines that they've been certified in: ultrasound, vibration, safety, drone operation. One more area of training that we would recommend is on procedures. Now, procedures are recommended by ASNT, but you won't find ASNT necessarily requiring some type of certification program in procedures. But notice, procedures that are specific to the thermography applications being performed. We give you some examples here: an electric breaker, mechanical transfer case, doors and or windows, a low slope roof, looking for moisture. See, these all have procedures. And having these procedures, how do we infrared this breaker or this transfer case, a door or a window, a low slope roof, and so forth. In addition to thermography procedures, we would also encourage training on the test procedures for using, say, an ultrasonic device or a multimeter that can measure voltage or current, a vibration device, a blower door test, that would be for building thermography, dissolved gas analysis. These are just some examples of other tests that can be performed in support of the thermography that's performed. Knowing how to do these also in terms of procedures is very important. Next, training on safe work procedures for the specific thermography application: electrical safety, mechanical safety, rooftop safety, and so on. Next, training on report procedures: how the problem and the data will be presented, producing repair reports and costs. Again, this discussion on other procedures thermography procedures, other test procedures, safety reporting. These fall into the responsibility of the employer. The manager provides an opportunity for the employer and manager in conjunction with his thermographers to develop and centralize the thermography program. But it is their responsibility. And again, this comes via AS&T standards. The last thing we'd like to discuss in this webinar is experience. Remember, 4 things that define qualification according to AS&T: training, experience, knowledge, and skill. And we told you that we would talk mostly in this webinar about training and experience. Now, in experience, we're really talking about hands-on type of work. So notice, I've classified the first point as pre-certification. You've hired a new thermographer. The best thing you can do for him is to let him work with an experienced thermographer. The goal of this is to get him exposure to the infrared camera operation, to other test equipment, have him exposed to procedures and what it means to ID a problem. The next thing you want to do, and we've already discussed it, is get him certified. Get that thermographer certified. That's more time with the camera and with the sciences. That adds to his experience. So now you have a new employee. He's had a little bit of experience in the field. He's gone to class and has achieved his thermography certification. What do you do now? Well, post-certification, you want to put him to work with an experienced certified thermographer. We believe at least 6 to 12 months, maybe longer. Lots of great opportunity to train and to apply what he's learned in class. Finally, there should be some type of regular review by management of your new thermographers, your newly certified thermographers. Notice some things that we believe needs to be reviewed. Imagery technique. Is he taking good focused images? Is he close enough to the target? Are there any mistakes with his temperature measurement? And so on. Is he acquiring or gathering supporting data properly? Is he IDing problems correctly? And then finally, what do his reports look like if he has a responsibility for report generation? This concludes our time together today and our discussion on thermographer management and development. Thank you for joining us. And for further information on AS&T, certification training, the development of procedures, and so on, please contact us. Thank you again. Goodbye.